Hello and welcome to episode number 11 of Connecting Jewish Grandparents, the Grand Plan podcast. I could tell you what happens here, but just join me. On Friday, I was busy getting ready for Shabbat when I heard a sound that completely caught me off guard. Now, living in Israel, there is a sound we hear regularly that no matter how often you hear it catches you off guard. And that's the sound of an azaka, of a siren that rockets, that missiles have been launched on us, and that we have to go and seek shelter in a safe room. And so I pause. There are many sounds that make you think that it's the start of an air raid siren, of an azaka. The sound of a motorcycle starting its engine has a similar. But this sound, I heard a sound and I jumped back. I turned my head because it wasn't that siren, but it was the siren of the season. It was the blast of a shofar, and I wasn't expecting it at all. My husband had just come home and he was excited, and it's Elul where we do hear the shofar every day, but when we're expecting to hear it, and this one I wasn't, it really startled me and made me think many thoughts. And that is kind of what a shofar is always meant to do. Whether you're expecting it or not, it really should make you pause, make you think, make you reflect. We talk about it as being the great spiritual alarm clock, this awakening, this wake up. And it is. I want it to be that. You need it to be that. And I want to go even deeper with it. Because a sound is a sound. You do have an alarm clock in whichever setting you've chosen in your phone. That is, if you actually use an alarm clock and not a phone, that is your wake up call in the morning. But each sound has purpose and meaning when you define it as that. And the sound of a shofar has greater depth and meaning than maybe any other sound on earth. I could spend really hours diving deep into it. But one of them that I want to look at right now is that sound in the process of coronation. It's funny, the idea and the concept of coronating, of declaring something as the king or queen. Feel like that was something that was so old school, something that we didn't really understand. I mean, Queen Elizabeth was the queen for so long, so who was looking at coronation in any other way until the movie Frozen came out? And then I was teaching kindergarten, and I had 4 and 5 and 6 year olds saying, "Let's play coronation today." It was amazing because they were all thinking about this concept. They were using the phrasing that we connect with Rosh Hashana. Except at this point, we are not just coronating Elsa as the Queen of Arendelle. If you haven't seen Frozen, then you don't have granddaughters that are into Frozen. I don't know. Hopefully, if you do, then you've seen it and you know what they're talking about. And I guess it's a little bit old school now because that was like 14 years ago. Jeepers. Maybe less. Anyway, I was not planning on talking about Elsa. I want to talk about the great coronation we're doing, not of a fictional character in royalty, not as a human character in royalty, but coronating the divine, acknowledging the King, the Almighty, as our master. Now, again, the sound of the shofar, it's like the trumpets, it's the sound, it's the coronation. But why do we need to coronate the master of the universe as king. Like he already is. He made us. Why would we need to acknowledge him? He is all powerful. We are but dust that we came from and dust we will end as. And yet, a human king can only be king if his subjects acknowledge him as king. You can't just decide I'm king without having any followers or support or a system that acknowledges that you are the royalty, the ruler, the king, right? You can't be boss without having any employees or people that work for you or whatever, right? You can only be in this leadership if you have something under you. That's the reciprocity in the relationship. So what does that mean? Does that mean if we don't acknowledge the Almighty as King, he's not? Well, he still is because we're still gonna have rain and sunshine and life and death and everything that comes in that picture of our gifts from the divine. But if we're not acknowledging him in that, if we're not able to do the Malchuyot, acknowledging him as the Melech, we personally are missing out. And so here I want to pivot, but really be saying the same thing, right? I didn't include my whole introduction in the podcast, connecting Jewish grandparents, building Jewish legacy. But hopefully by now you know that because that's why you're here. But here's the thing, all right? I'm not saying you're the king and I'm not saying you're God. But unless you're actively working on that relationship to be the grandparent with the grandchildren, what are you doing? Yes, they will still be your grandchildren. That's how that family tree thing works. But unless you're actively working on that relationship, being the grandparent, acknowledging the king, right? You see the parallels here? Then you are missing out, and they, your grandchildren, are missing out. So I want us to try to use the sound of the shofar this year, not just as your wake-up call of teshuvah and all of those things you've probably heard, and the coronation of the Almighty as our King, but as your personal wake-up call to take on your role and your responsibility and your joy in your role as grandparent. Okay? Just as we crowned God as King. How do you crown yourself as grandparent? What do you provide? Hopefully, you can reflect on what the Almighty provides for you. But what do you provide for your family in your grandparenting role? Are you actively providing stability or values or connection or reflection? What is it that you are giving them, modeling for them in your role as the patriarch, matriarch of your family? Right? How are you coronating yourself in that leadership position? Okay. The sound of the shofar, it goes through Malchuyot, Zichronot, and Shofar. That's what the shofar sound is. That is what we say through the prayers of Musaf. And I want your prayers, if you're going through the machzor, the formal prayers, but if you're, so that and the sound of the shofar alone, that it is helping you with your relationship with the divine, but how you're going to personally take this in your relationship with your family. Okay. When you hear that sound of the shofar this year, let it awaken in you that wake up call for you for what your role is in shaping your family's story. What are the things that you're going to do? How is the shofar going to wake you up to be different this year? What does he want it to be? What is the powerful, intentional role you are going to take? So that's what I want you to reflect on now as you're listening to me. Soon, as you're listening to the sound of the shofar, reflect on what it is you want to awaken. Who do you want to coordinate yourself as the patriarch or matriarch? Like, what does that role entail for you? And then the corollary of what does that entail for your children and your grandchildren? I'm not asking you to do this alone because I know this is lofty. I've said it in other episodes, but really, I want you to book a free legacy call with me. I want to work with you actively in you imagining and then activating your legacy, living it, designing it, and living it. In the show notes below, I have the Calendly link. Put yourself on the calendar, 30 minutes. I want to gift this to you in the coming year. I want to make this Shana, this year, really of Tova, really of good for you and your whole family. So please reach out, book a legacy call with me. It's free. It's a gift for you in this year. I hope that you do. I could say it a lot more times, but whether you do or you don't, I may this be the year that the shofar, the sound awakens within you your deep strengths, your connection to the great king, but your connection to yourself and your own potential and your own role in bringing joy to your family for generations. Shana Tova. May it be a wonderful Rosh Hashana for you and all of your loved ones.